On to item 10, to the board for information. Item 10A, accreditation update.
Yes, very good news. As you all have read and been told, that Merced College has been reaffirmed. We received notice approximately 2 weeks ago. The commission took action and decided that they would reaffirm for 18 months with a follow-up report to address the team's findings and recommendations. As a reminder, originally we received 10 recommendations. ACCJC reduced those recommendations to 6. We'll still want to respond to the other recommendations, but they're more for improvement, not for compliance. And so I've attached the letter there for you all to see. As you all know, the work doesn't start here. The work started the day that ACCJC reported out. We've been working on it since then, and we'll continue to do so. At some time in the early fall, I'll provide you a status update on how we're tracking to respond to the 6 recommendations that we have. You will also notice there are 2 recommendations related to the board, and we've discussed those, and we'll continue to discuss how we'll appropriately address those moving forward. One of which, the trustee handbook will be helpful. I think that'd be one way that we can appropriately respond to that recommendation on delegation of authority. And the other is your biannual evaluation. And as we discussed at our retreat, we'll do an off-cycle evaluation this year and get back on track next year. But by and large, this is very good news for Merced College. Very pleased with the outcome, and look forward to continuing to address these recommendations. Also would bring recognition to the commendations we received, because we received several of those from ACCJC as well.
All right, and I also publicly want to thank all of you involved, the entire college community, for their hard work and getting everything ready for the accreditation team when they were here. I know everybody was working really hard, so we have made progress, and it's exciting. And even with the other things that are going on, the new logo and all these other things that are happening, so a lot of good things going on. So appreciate all your hard work. Item B, update on operational items.
At the last board meeting, Trustee DeLaurel requested an update on 2 personnel items. One is the farm manager position, and the other is the duties and responsibilities of the campus locksmith. The farm manager position has been frozen, and you may recall that I've reported out at least twice now as a part of the president's report. It's not that I don't support such a position, it's just that we don't have the funds to start a position such as this. It's my goal to create a fiscal plan that's more sustainable in the long run for this district. Adding a manager position just did not fit into the plan this year or next year. That being said, maybe in the future it will, but when we do it, we also need to be prepared for operational expenses. Having a farm manager is important, but some of you who are involved in agriculture are well aware that we also have to provide a hefty operational budget for them to actually do their job. I could think of probably a few more frustrating things than to hire someone and not give them the resources to actually do their job. And that would be the case right now. Last year, we were in deficit spending. This next year, the proposed budget puts us at around $40,000–$50,000 into the black. And so we're just not in a position to add this type of management position right now. But hopefully in the future we'll be able to do so. We've got some exciting things that might even integrate with this position, such as a botanical garden, landscaping, and others that we might be able to rethink how we do this to not only operate the farm, but also some of the other agricultural operations on campus, which could be integrated nicely into the academic programs as well. For the campus locksmith, this is something that's been evaluated for the last several years. I can't even tell you the number of times we've discussed this in cabinet. It's not that it's not something that we're not well aware of, but we have, if you will, put a Band-Aid on this the last several years by reclassifying an employee so the job is getting done, and we are compensating that employee for that task that's being added to his plate. As you all know, Dr. Schultz is retiring, and we'll have new person stepping in soon, so I would be reluctant to take any action until the next VP of Admin Services has an opportunity to evaluate and look at what their staffing needs are moving forward. But long story short, this need is being taken care of. Dr. Schultz, would you want to add anything to that other than what I said? So that's the update on those two items.
Question.
Thank you. Question?
Yeah. I remember somebody talking about that if we did have the farm manager, they would pay for their own in the more money we would bring in. Has that gone by the wayside that they felt they could pay for it?
No, Trustee Upton, it hasn't gone by the wayside, but it's still going to take money up front for them to get that operation going. It's going to take a couple of years for that farm to produce enough funds to not only, right now they use funds for some of the agricultural operations out there, but to add a full-time management position with benefits. The numbers just don't add up yet, but it will, and it can. If you recall, the same night that you all approved this new position, we also leased out Craft Ranch. And you might recall also Brian Tassi spoke to his support of the farm manager position that evening, but also said that if you're leasing out one of the ranches, 100 acres, to another farmer, then you've already chipped into your profits. And we did a 3-year lease that same night. And so when I stepped in January and looked at our fiscal status, I quickly realized that it was going to take a little longer to put a good financial plan in place, as you all know that run farms, and a business plan in place to actually show how these numbers would pan out. But I'm confident in the long run that a position could be supported, if not partially, by revenue that's brought in by the farm. But in the beginning, on the front end, the district is going to have to invest some seed money, no pun intended, to actually get the operation going in the form of equipment, supplies, resources, and we're looking at several $100,000 to get it started. So I would rather us be in a better fiscal situation to do that. So when we do bring someone in, it's not just sustaining their salary, but it's also sustaining all the expenses that go along with running the farm.
Are we running that equipment now that's needed?
We do run equipment now, but it's nothing compared to what we could be doing with a full-time farm manager. So longer term, we have an opportunity to expand our operations. But again, we don't really have a business plan in place where those numbers have been worked out. In fact, the Ag Advisory Committee has only been consulted about this once. I want to spend more time with the Ag Advisory Committee on how we can make this work. The concept is great. I think it will work out. We just need a little bit longer time to plan and to get the revenue in place to make sure they can start off successfully, if that makes sense. But I have some ideas on how we can address this position, maybe expand the responsibilities, and also help drive some of the other things that we have going on this campus that are in need. When the new VP of Admin Services comes on board, they can look at some of the operations in their area, as well as some of the needs that we have on the farm. Maybe there's some ways that we could restructure this to have a farm manager and also offset some of the pressures that other managers are dealing with and some other areas on campus.
And then additional classes in agriculture?
Meaning expand the offerings? Yeah, I think so, sure.
The farm needs to feed into our education too, so we read that having the ag committee meet and build that up.
It could be really positive. Okay, thank you. Item C, Merced County Civil Grand Jury Report.
Okay, as you can see, several of the employees met with the Merced County Civil Grand Jury, and there was an internal investigation. This was not because of a complaint. This is because they decided that it was something they wanted to look further into. By and large, this was a very good report for us. So, things come in threes. We've had the commission give us a good report. We're getting a good report from the civil grand jury. We're waiting for the next one. But this is positive for us. And as you can read from the findings, they looked into a few different areas. And to be quite frank, and they even say this in their report, that they decided, based on news reports and other things they had heard in the community, that they wanted to look into these matters. Primarily, they looked into the search of the new superintendent president for the district. They looked into parking policies, as well as the contract with the sheriff's department that expired last year. And the findings were positive. They were a pleasure to meet with, and they had nothing but glowing things to say about the district as reflected in this report. A few of you have asked about the responses, and by law we do have to respond as a district from my office within 60 days and as a board within 90 days. As you can imagine, some of these reports aren't always the most positive reflection of an organization, so the responses are nuanced. Some are much more extensive than what others might have to provide. As a district, I was told that because this is a positive report, a very simple response to the judge in the Superior Court that we had received the findings would be sufficient. So basically a short paragraph and from both the trustees as well as the district. So my recommendation to you all is to assign a trustee to work with me on this, and we can bring a draft letter in August, and then I can send it off shortly after.
Yes, I think that would be a good idea. Would we, first of all, a volunteer that would like to be part of that?
So I would volunteer, and it's because I have a keen interest in this area. When I first found out that there's a grand jury investigation on Merced College, I was like, oh my God. And I've never seen a report that ended in, we were just checking things out, things look really good. And so I'm really glad that that it was investigated, that it's done, and that this response is really just kind of a procedural thing. I'd be happy to help if there's anyone else who has interest in this area. I'd certainly be willing to defer, but if there's not, this is the kind of thing I like to do.
Okay. Everybody agrees that Trustee Ramirez would be the trustee to represent us on the report. All right. Yeah, thank you for volunteering, and it's actually probably a fun report to be part of. So, all right.